Alright, reefers, today's mission is actually creating some frags of the goldenrod that I got from Corals almost a year and a half ago. It is slowly creeping up on the airspace of other corals. For example, the golf bonsai is totally overlapping, and if I swing over to the side, that's even more obvious right there. And in the back you see that, I think it's Pinky the bear. I'm not 100% sure what the pink Acropora is. But as you can see here, the goldenrod is totally, actually I think it's probably touching already. That pink one, as well as in the back, the Oregon torch, which is one of my favorite, I have a lot of favorite core in this tank. It's totally kind of encroaching on the space. So there are a couple of frags I need to be made. But the good news is that I do have a... What are you doing, buddy? Go to sleep. So the good news is that there's a demand for these goldenrod and Acropora, and locally there are already a couple people hitting me up knowing that I'm gonna frag this up to buy some frags. I'm gonna sell them for cheap. So without further ado, today's main mission is to pull some frags from this goldenrod and Acropora, and if there's bandwidth, I'm gonna try to maybe pull a frag from the Malneficence as well as the slime ball. Mosquito? Okay, all right, let's get it. Tool of choice today, medium-sized clipper from BLS. That's a nice big one right here. We managed to pull 4 decent-sized goldenrod frag.
Several song-filled hours later.
Alright, this is the strangest thing. So I just snipped off a nice branch of the Malneficent. I saw it pop off. I saw it jump to the back, and I think it actually went down to a sandbed, but for the life of me I couldn't find it. And I even pulled out my top-down viewer trying to get a look. Like maybe instead of flying to the sandbed it landed in a rock, but it doesn't look like it. So I don't know, I'm gonna give it maybe like 5 minutes, look around a little bit, dig around. I even moved some of the corals back there. If I don't see it, I guess I'll just snip off another piece. This happened before with the same coral, Magnificence. Granted, it was a smaller frag last time, but same thing, just kind of popped off and just totally disappeared. It's like every time I frag this coral once, it's actually twice. It's the strangest thing, but hopefully I can find it this time. But not likely, because I just spent like 5 minutes just looking around, moving things around, and I don't see it. That is the weirdest thing, man. And it was a nice chunky piece too. Weird. Weird.
Car.
And guys, here it is. Here are the goldenrod frags that we were able to pull. We pulled a decent amount, and a couple of them already sold. And I also was able to grab a slime ball, WWC slime ball, as well as a embarrassingly small frag of Magnificence. This is how the mini colonies looked after the haircut. They all are now staying within the lane, at least I hope for another 2 months or so before we need another haircut. But in some way it's also good. With this in mind, I do have to frag them back, and I can trade or sell them locally for a really affordable price actually compared to what people see online. But this is in some way able to allow me to kind of reinvest back into the hobby, because these days Emily is like, man, you start eyeing my tank like, you put a lot of money in here, especially now that I started a plants hobby too. So I guess every little bit help to kind of reinvest this, or use the proceed I get from selling coral frags towards diaper for the second kid who is coming next month. So guys, get ready for another winter in terms of video contents on my part. Actually, you know what? If I remember correctly, the first half year is not terrible. It's only after the first year that the kid really started demanding more time. And this guy is getting better, even better at 2.5 years old now, but now we're introducing one more family member, which is awesome, but that's also gonna take up some free time. So we'll see how things goes. It's a juggling act, and of course, I'm always happy to bring you guys along on the journey. You guys are almost like family. I've had this channel up for what, 6 years? And you guys have seen me going from like a single bachelor dude to like hitch to having 1 kid. Now the second kid is kind of crazy. I have like portion of my life online. This is just kind of insane to me too. But anyways, I really appreciate you following along. But for now, let's go ahead and skip forward and see what happens next. Alright guys, we are down here bright and early. The light just snapped on. That's why all the corals are closed, and I'm doing this because I am going to pull frags from the gold torch colony. And I'm coming here early before the tentacle extends so I can get a clear look at the skeleton and see where I can really cut. So the goal is to pull at least one frag for Lynn because her reef shack is up and running and ready for corals. So I have the New York Knicks right here, and I have the Indo Gold. The Indo Gold has not really grown much for me. I got that from Chevy a while back, so I think it's still kind of settling in. And yeah, they just look a little bit small at the moment, and I think Lynn may have Indo Gold already, so probably gonna leave that one alone, and we're gonna focus on that one. So this one is the New York Knicks that I got from Joker Corals maybe 2 years ago as one single head, and it just took off. And I love seeing how fast it grows. You see that from one head it grew into I don't even know how many heads there are, and most of the heads are already pinching, meaning that they're in the process of us splitting into two. It's kind of more obvious here, like this one right here is, you notice the head is kind of like elongated, a little bit fatter, and this one you see where it divided, yellow tank can move, it divided into two. And there are some other ones that's a little bit more obvious, like down there. So they all started as one single head, and it's funny because like people call this gold torch the Johnny Bravo. It's channeling the inner Johnny Bravo. As you can see, the leg is really skinny. The skeleton is like that. I'm so afraid I'm gonna take it out and the whole thing is just gonna break off right there, and then that'll be a huge mess. So I have not really messed with it, but I think it's time. Today's tool of choice is a Dremel tool. Well, technically it's not the Dremel tool because Dremel is a brand, kind of like Xerox, but we've been calling it Dremel tool anyways. I'm not a huge fan of the Milwaukee one, simply because the on-off is all the way down here versus like by your thumb where you can just like push to have it on. This is not the on-off, by the way. It's down here, but it is what I got to work with. I'm Team Red all the way, so it is what it is. And the reason I'm using a Dremel tool instead of a regular clipper is because sometimes if you use a clipper on the skeleton, you may crush it. I've had that happen with hammers, and they all have like similar skeleton structure, the branching type. So just to be super safe, I'm using a Dremel tool with a nice clean cut where I can either super glue or epoxy. I much prefer using super glue. I feel like it's much cleaner, and it does not make my skimmer go crazy. But depending on how big the skeleton is, I may do the traditional method where I do epoxy. I do epoxy first, kind of make a little hole in it, do super glue, and then stick the skeleton in there. If we go down that route, of course I'll show you, but ideally I'll just be able to use super glue and just call it a day. So we'll see how it goes. All right, here we go. And I think the tank is actually waking up. Let's see. Oh, look at the size of this. Look at this. All from one single head in 2 years. This is what makes me a little bit nervous. I'm afraid if I do any wrong move, it's just gonna snap off. But then again, I guess it's time to make frags anyways. I've been dragging my heels on it. Beautiful, huh? And there is the indigo torch, which I hope will grow a little better once I clear out some space for water current to go through and light to go through. I want to make sure the tentacle closes up first, so I'm kind of annoying them a little bit in the water. Make sure I'm not putting too much pressure on this delicate stem. Here we go. That was surprisingly easy. This kind of went in like butter, but let me show you my face. I definitely got splashed by a lot of water in the face, so again, eye protection. Over here, before I return this back in a tank, this is a much more manageable size. We got this. I could potentially cut this into 2 pieces, but I like how tall it is, and this is structurally sound, so I'm gonna keep it as this right now. And this one is going to Lynn as a pinched head that is pretty ready to split, so hopefully it should go well. And I'm going to leave this stem. I know it's kind of tall for frag, but I'm going to leave this stem in case you want to tuck it away somewhere and she can remount because she frags coal all the time, so she is a pro. So I'll let her decide what she want to do with the remaining stem. So I think we're going to go for the super glue because the surface area is quite large and we should be okay. If this again doesn't work, we'll go for the epoxy coverage as well. So I like to add some super glue either to the stem or directly to the plug. Then I like to just dab on it and just spread it around a little bit. And things are so much easier when the cut is nice and flat. And because it is on skeleton, I'm gonna do instant sets to speed up the curing process of the super glue so I don't have to stand here for like 1 minute. And this is actually one good thing about the Dremel right here, because with the clipper, I noticed that a lot of times when I clip it, the cut area is not flat. It's kind of jaggedy. So if I want to do super glue where I need a flat surface to a flat surface with the best adhesion, sometimes not the best. All right, 2 more frags. I'm trying to mount the Forest Fire Digitata Montiporas. This one I'll probably just mount laying down like this. Is a nice flat area that will make for a really nice base. I probably should use a larger plug. For this one though, I guess I could do it this way as well, and just kind of snip this part off so you get a nice encrusting base too. So I snipped off some of these excess branches just so that the whole frag looks a little neater. This one's gonna go on really nice. Same deal, super glue. Dab it in a little bit. Scoot it around. Yeah, this is really nice and tight. It's just gonna lay flat. I'm not gonna use glue accelerator when it's not needed here, because again, it's gonna heat up and may irritate the coral a little bit. This one I also trimmed off some of the excess, and we're gonna mount it like this. Yeah, perfect. Nice and flat.
1 week later.
Alright, reefers, just want to give you guys a quick update on how the corals and the frags are looking. So let's zoom in right here. These are the frags that I got remaining in the moment. 2 pieces of the Goldenrod twins, and these 2 will be going soon, as well as these two pieces of the Forest Fire Digitata. By the way, I apologize for the washer dryer running off in the background. This is terrible timing on my part in terms of filming. This small piece is the Magnificent that I snipped off, and it is doing well. It's holding steady, so that's excellent. And I think I'm gonna hold on to it for a while for Jim as he get his tank up and ready. And speaking of Jim, he also dropped off his Rainbow Pectinia as well as Space Invader Pectinia. But we'll talk a little bit more about them in a follow-up video, because Jim is upgrading his tank from the 45-gallon cube to I think a 93. So he wants me to hold on to some of these corals while that's happening. So really exciting. One thing I do want to point out as I'm kind of walking through the coral is actually this guy right here. This guy has been a little bit more aggressive towards the purple tang, which was kind of surprised. I thought it would be the yellow tang that's going to be issue. But as you can see here on the purple tang, his fins, man, has been, look at that, has been consistently torn now for the last 2 weeks or so. So I'm keeping an eye out on the Hippo tang and purple tang, hoping that this is like a passing issue. If not, I may need to actually rehome one of them. And seeing how aggressive the Hippo is, maybe it's gonna be this guy, especially since like he's getting a little bit larger in size. Anyway, so we'll talk about that in the future video, so be sure to keep updated to what's going on. Now back to the corals that got fragged. There is the New York Knicks that are fragged for Lynn, and as I mentioned before, the skeleton is a little bit long, so it's up to her whether she want to frag it a little bit shorter or she got a spot for a long stemmed torch, and seems to be doing well, which is excellent. I was kind of like catching my breath. I'm not sure how it's gonna do. This is the multi-branch one that I want to continue to rich with. Seems to like the spot as well, so that is excellent. And in terms of corals that got frag, Goldenrod carried on as if nothing happens. All the cuts that got white tip was already kind of healed and grown over, and the growth has continued. Actually, never paused. So that's really good. Magnificent next to it, same thing. All the cut has healed within the week and a half span, and things are looking good. Same thing with the slime ball. So this time around, fragging and mounting the corals has been really smooth going. It's not always been like that in terms of corals, but maybe because it's SPS. And some of these I use a Dremel tool, so things are a little bit easier to glue, a little bit smoother, especially with the torch and the Dremel tool. I think the flat surface in terms of the cut surface, super gluing is a lot easier versus a jaggedy edge where I have to kind of like, sometimes I need to use a layer of super glue first, harden it, and then super glue that encrusted super glue to the surface. So it's a little bit more cumbersome, but using a Dremel tool with a smooth cut makes things a lot easier over there, as well as larger pieces over here. All right, so anyways, this is a quick look of how the coral looks right now. And I think in the next video, I'm gonna dive into some of the corals that Jim passed on over to this tank, and we'll talk a little bit more about the fish. I think that's one thing we have not talked about a lot. But I'm hoping that I can keep up with the video tempo. This past couple of videos has been released pretty quickly, and the kid is coming in 2 to 3 weeks, so I think I may be slowing down a little bit once again. So unfortunately, my apologies. But again, if you want to get up-to-date videos and get notification on when a new video drop, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I feel odd every time asking it, but I would love for you guys to, of course, if I put out content, I want people to see it, but especially some of you guys that have been following along. So it'd be fantastic to get your eyeballs on it as well. So with that said, as always, hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll see you potentially next weekend. If not, then be well, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.
4 to 6 more days later.
All right, this is a moment. Goldenrod going home with a local reefer, as well as this guy. This guy I'm really gonna miss. Been growing this for a while. So, look at this. What size is this? Beautiful slime ball. Anyways, let's not make him wait. So, I was selling this for 40. And this for 30. All right, let's go.
The next day.
All right, with the pea cup out, you know I am packing corals. So this is gonna be for Lynn, and we're gonna pack up the long stock, actually 2 heads now. New York Knicks torch from Joker Coral, so we're gonna pack that up. We're gonna pack up one sun-kissed bounce mushroom. I actually had another one, but I gave that away yesterday when somebody else came over to purchase frags. We're gonna do the Magnificent is gonna go over Lynn first until Jim's new tank is ready. I'll cut another piece. We're gonna send the chunky goldenrods. We are also gonna send the Blue Plus bulbs that have just been sitting on the shelf, and this is actually what I want you guys to see. This is a media reactor from Vertex. I think this is the RU 2.5. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful work from Vertex, but I'm not using it, and I got this for free for sponsorship. This along with the Vertex Omega 180, but unfortunately they went under. I talked to them and they kind of released me from having to do any video because the company's not there anymore. So instead of just having it sit on the shelf, I figure I'll just go to super nice local hobbyist to put into use. So it's, again, this is fancy, really nice unit. Just want to give the unit at least a moment to shine. Really unfortunate that the company went under because I really like that company. But unfortunately, I think it's the Cerebra that really tanked them. The controller never really took off well, and that's all she wrote. All right, look at this long leg goodness right here. I wonder if this will actually fit in a sandwich bag. It should. Just hope that it does not puncture the bag. So maybe I should double bag it. All right, let's get it done. All right, the next piece is gonna be the goldenrods. We have grown this piece for about 3 months, I think. And this is one of the ones that was mounted vertically versus that one is the one that looks like a crab. It's horizontal. I was hoping that the horizontal one have a stronger base and grow upward, but the problem is that it's growing downwards and towards the front, which I don't know what's going on. A lot of my corals are growing downwards, and I think it probably has to do with the flow. Light is apparently enough. They're no longer reaching for the light. It's actually going for the flow. So I think overall, this piece looked much more presentable. So we're gonna send home this one with Lynn. Beautiful. I'm gonna miss this one. I think I'm gonna mount more Anacropora vertically, but the problem is that the base Anacropora don't tend to encrust as much as Acropora. A lot of Acropora tend to just encrust first, have a strong base, and then shoot upwards. Where the Anacropora, especially look at the slime ball, it's kind of off of like one branch stuck to the rock, everything else just goes off of one branch. Just scares me, man. I feel like one wrong move, I'm gonna snap the whole thing off the rock. And that's one of the downside. But anyways, this one in particular, even though it's a single branch off of the Frag rack, looks good. Oh, this actually looks really cool. Spill some water out. Look at the sun-kissed mounts. It fits perfectly in one of these specimen cup, which I really like in terms of sending out frags for a really short trip locally. Look at these guys. Beautiful, right? I originally got these from Daniel, and they've been growing pretty well. They went through a growth spurt and spit off some babies. So, look at that. Time to send them off. Since we're talking about specimen container, I also want to kind of show off K. Kelver's awesome creation once again. He is the creator behind the turbulence flow generator, which basically is a 3D printed nozzle that kind of create, well, it's not totally random, but it goes through a certain flow cycle that is really similar to the random flow generator by awhile as well. And there has been drama going on who is the original creators. Like, is it legit like two brilliant ideas born at the same time? Lots of speculation. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but in terms of continued innovations, K. Kelver's also created this guy right here. So in terms of this particular coral cradles, this is actually available on Thingiverse as well. K. Kelver's was really kind to customize a model for me with my screen name in appropriate reefer across the top. So that's kind of cool. So I printed this out, and as you can see, it locks the cold frag perfectly so it doesn't bump against the side. And he also created a version for Ziploc bag, but I have not really tried it yet. It's basically like a ball figure, so kind of like to keep the Ziploc bag shape. I have not tried it yet, so I'm not sure how well it works. But this particular model is available on Thingiverse for free as well if you're interested. It works really, really well with like specimen cup like this, and we need more people like this in a hobby who can just kind of create, innovate. Not all the ideas gonna fly, but if you don't try, you don't know if you could or not. So thank you again. And finally, I'm happy about this one because this purple frilly gorgonian has been living in that corner on the frag rack for a long time. I have no idea where to put it. I'm trying to clear out the gorgonian from this tank, and there's just simply no place in the softy tank for it. And the purple frilly does not seem to do too well in the mangrove tank because things are kind of brushing up against each other, and obviously we don't want that with, especially with gorgonian. So this is going to Lynn. I think Lynn is passing it off to one of his friends, so it's perfect. So I'm really glad that it's gonna find a good home. So for whatever reason, Lynn actually wants some zinnia as well. So I hope she knows what she's doing. Well, she knows what she's doing, but we're gonna scrape off some of the zinnias and maybe pull some off of rock for her to propagate and live long and prosper, my friends. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This video is a lot more about fragging, mounting, as well as me just selling and trading locally. If you like regular content like this as a regular hobbyist, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Otherwise, I'll see you when I see you, because baby number 2 is coming any second now, and we are shaking in our boots. Here is the Space Invader Pactinia. Look at the size of this guy.